So thanks for coming out. Really quick, there's three of us that organize this group. If you have any questions or if you want any follow-ups, it's myself. I'm a digital partner with Turn Digital. We have Mike Dixon, a senior consultant with Wellington Street Consulting, and David Losey, who couldn't be here with us tonight. He's a great guy with Solon Consulting. So last time, in case you weren't able to join us, we had Chris Wortlick present securing, governing, and protecting your O365 investments. We have not published this on YouTube yet, but that's coming very soon. So keep an eye out for that. It's a great session. Would highly recommend it for anyone in the technology space. So what we like to do is we like to kick it off, talk a little bit about what has changed in Office 365 since we last met. Things change every week, every 2 weeks. And it's pretty much impossible to keep up unless you set aside time and dedicate your time to it. So we give you a quick summary. It's not comprehensive, but it gives you an idea of what's coming, what's changing. So one other thing I want to point out before we dive into this, we moved away from giving away raffle tickets for prizes at the end of the event to asking trivia questions. So anything that you see from this point forward could be a trivia question. And if you want to win prizes at the end, which I would highly recommend, you might want to pay attention throughout this whole thing. So the first update from last time is that Microsoft has introduced Microsoft 365, which takes Office 365, it takes Windows 10, it takes the mobility and security suite that they offer, bundles it in one convenient package. So the major difference there is that it's basically software as a service delivered to you instead of it being licensed piecemeal and collaborated together. So it's a new offering. Microsoft is doing this with the E3 and the E5 licensing pair. So it's not so much for companies just getting started in 365 that might be more on the E1 basis. It's more for companies that are ready to buy the whole stack, which many enterprise customers do. So this is becoming available in about a week and a half from now. If your EAs are coming up or if you're looking to expand into it, you get a lot of value out of this compared to doing things completely differently. There's also new business apps that Microsoft is adding to the Office 365 Business Premium package. Business Premium is one of those things that we've seen a lot of additions on, whether it's the scheduling component and many others over the last year or so. There's three new things where it's a new marketing service that they offer through email. There's a new way to publish your information to top sites like Bing Maps and others. And the third is a new way to create invoices and get paid. So there's a lot of companies that are really, they're not full in with QuickBooks yet because they're not at that point, but they still want a way to kind of comprehensively do this together. So cool things to check out. We have URLs at the bottom of each slide, and we also publish this on our website, so don't feel like you have to take notes on this part. The next thing is Microsoft announced communication sites as a brand new feature during their Future of SharePoint event about a month and a half ago. They've started rolling that out as of this week to fresh release tenants. Communication sites are a completely different way of looking at SharePoint sites. Instead of using the traditional .NET stack they've been using for team sites and publishing sites, it's completely rewritten ground up. It's based largely in TypeScript and React, and it's completely responsive out of the box. The main driver behind these new sites with modern team sites, communication sites, is instead of having to have all the heavy baggage that was associated with the old .NET protocols that they were literally leveraging, that were delivered in 2001 or so, they're making it completely modern. They're making it a better position to compete against WordPress, Drupal, and some of the other site core competitors in that space. So it's really a great thing to check out. It's still a very early release, but it's something that Microsoft is distributing.
So you mean to say, like SharePoint, they are disassociating with .NET and promoting towards React and Office players side?
Good question. So just to repeat the question for this, is Microsoft distancing themselves from .NET and going more with modern technologies like React, TypeScript, and others? The answer is yes. They've announced this about 2 years ago with their Future of SharePoint event. I believe it was May 4th, 2016. They reiterated that with their releases. If you look at the new SharePoint framework, it's all based on modern APIs, all based around web services and client-side scripting. They're really taking direction to say that if they want to compete and remain modern with the latest technologies, they have to shift to that. So they're actually in the process of rewriting all of SharePoint using client-side code, and in the process building the back-end services required to power that.
So we can write workflow in customized workflow in SharePoint and then web parts all those using TypeScript and React?
Great question. The question is, can we write workflows and web parts and TypeScript and so forth? If you're leveraging a modern team site or a communication site, you can build web parts using the new SharePoint framework, using TypeScript and React and all of those technologies. Workflows, Microsoft has not really expanded much on building your own code, but if you look at Flow or Azure Logic apps, there's a lot of hooks available to build your own web services that you can write in any language of your choosing to integrate there.
Okay. Can you go one slide back? This Microsoft listing is similar to like Google Ads, that one?
I wouldn't say it's the Google Ads. Think of it more like a Yelp type of interface,
Oh, yeah.
where you can publish your business hours. A lot of this is based around like brick and mortar stores or service-based industries. If you look at the URL, there's actually a lot more information, including some screenshots and a video that you could take a look at.
Yeah, I know, but whatever you are telling, after that we don't go much.
So is that the successor to Microsoft's Visio application? Do you remember that? This pin was basically a way to advertise your business. And it would make it available on Bing Maps and stuff like that.
It's a good question. I don't think it's connected. I think it's a better service that they're offering.
Okay.
To be honest, I haven't explored this myself personally.
Yeah.
In this, again, this is not available for the enterprise customer. So if you have an E1 or E3, this is not there yet. It might never get there. It's really around the business premium, small business suites.
Something in E3 tenants that says like public your business out there. It's not this.
Right.
It could be.
So they had the connection to the public-facing sites in Office 365. And although they've basically withdrawn that support for enterprise customers about 2 years ago, they've also not removed all of the marketing material around what that could have, like what kind of value that could have added. If there's something else,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think this is a separate thing. But yeah.
Okay. So next thing is Microsoft has announced and released Workplace Analytics. For anyone that was paying attention about a year and a half ago, they released this product or this concept called Delve Analytics. That would give you full insight in terms of who's working with who and how things are working all across your entire organization. That was met with a lot of pushback because a lot of users and a lot of companies thought it was infringing on the data privacy of the employees, and therefore Microsoft took a step back there. They released another E5 product called My Analytics, which is limited just to yourself being able to see how you're managing your time. Now they've added another component here called Workplace Analytics, that again provides very anonymized information that could be seen by supervisors, managers, and so forth. And there's a lot of different modules that they've released as part of this, including sales tracking, including customer service, including other aspects. If you go to the URL, it gives you a lot more information. But this is, again, basically Microsoft finding very intuitive ways to harness the data that's inside the Office graph and release analytics and analysis based on top of that can help your organization. Very cool things. Check it out. It's officially becoming available in about a week and a half from now. But if you go to the link, you'll see all the details behind it. Next, so Microsoft has released a concept called Forms. This is not an InfoPath replacement. This is actually something that you could do in Word or Excel even today. You can create a survey where people can go and fill it out and you get responses. It's not enterprise grade. This is something that is very simple, but now they've actually made that a web app equivalent of what you could do with Excel and so forth today. So you can collect information, but don't expect it to be very secure, very detailed. It's kind of like if you wanted to see where your team wanted to go out for lunch versus, asking how the company could do better. But definitely something, an additional tool that you could use in your toolbox. So Microsoft Stream is now available. So Microsoft Stream has a bit of an interesting story. It started off as the video portal inside Office 365. And there was also a competing product called Microsoft Azure Stream, which had a lot of overlaps, but they had a lot of differences. The Office 365 video portal was around building channels and applying governance to it so you could limit who can create videos, who could upload, who could view them. The Azure side was a lot more about, can we do analytics? Can we do like the speech to text? So if somebody wants to search for something, it could actually match the video results, even if it's not in the metadata that was created there. It could also do facial recognition. Is somebody positive, someone negative? So they've kind of combined the two together into this product called Microsoft Stream. If you check your tenants, it's actually listed there, and it's replaced the video portal. And Microsoft has actually migrated all of your video portal things into Stream. Really great thing. So now you have like speech to text. You can transcribe the audio. You can have face detection. So if you see somebody speaking, you can actually see where else in the video the same person is talking. And they've also linked time codes, kind of like YouTube, where you could jump somebody directly to like a certain minute and second as part of it.
So, the Microsoft Stream is a competitor for which existing?
The question is, the question is it's competing for which thing, which other Microsoft product? It's not actually competitive. They've actually merged Azure Stream and Video Portal in 365 into this new product called Microsoft Stream. What's important here is that it's included as part of your Office 365 subscription today, but if companies don't have Office 365, they can still license this as a standalone product.
Okay. So what I'm asking is, similar facility is already available in the market. Is there anything?
Oh, good question. So the question is, are there other companies out there that do this? So if you look at other media server providers, things like Kaltura, even YouTube for Work and others, they have different pieces of these components available.
Okay.
One thing to keep in mind is if you're using a cloud-only video streaming service, without putting hardware accelerators into place, if you have 20 people in your office looking at the same video, like if you're a quarterly CEO broadcast, you're taking up 20 times the bandwidth in most cases. A lot of companies that are very large will actually have media servers in each office that downloads the video in one time and then streams it across your LAN instead of across your WAN. So too far to dive into different media configurations, but this certainly helps a lot of companies, especially if you're publishing information that won't be simultaneously viewed by lots of people at the same time.
So this will be in control of that company's server?
Yes. Well, within your Office 365 tenant. So it's only in the cloud. If you wanted to do a better broadcast, Skype for Business is a great option, and Doug will tell us more about that in the near future, in the next 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay. So I know we have a lot of education members in our group. So there's a list of different improvements Microsoft has released in the last 30 days, both for OneNote as well as for Microsoft Teams. Without going into too much detail, they've added additional integration to existing learning management systems, as well as added a bunch of shortcuts and functionalities to make the whole classroom experience better. There's more information at the links below to go deeper into that. Microsoft is continuing to improve their security and compliance features within Office 365. So we've talked about this in past sessions where now if you have a malicious link in your email, Microsoft will actually remove that link and replace it with a page that says this is malicious. You have options now where attachments can be executed in a virtual sandbox, and if it explodes the sandbox, it gets banned. If not, it gets added. A lot of interesting things that are happening. Microsoft continues to evolve their offerings. Without going into a lot of detail, you now have more access than you did before. One of the coolest features out of this list is specifically, in my opinion, around the optical character recognition. So they're adding OCR into their e-discovery. So if you have scanned PDFs that haven't been actually OCR'd, or if you have images, TIFF files of scanned documents, that could also be part of e-discovery now, which is huge if you're dealing with a case that has a lot of paper scans that were part of it. Again, a lot of great stuff. Check out that URL. Next thing that is pretty interesting is Visio visualizations in Power BI. So Microsoft launched the Visio online services not that long ago, but now they've integrated it. So now you can actually have dashboards that can interface directly with your Visio diagrams. So you can have pretty much two-way communication and data analysis happening with both platforms. I think Power BI is great. There's no question about that. But Visio also offers a different angle and perspective for what could be there, how things are arranged, and putting the two together makes perfect sense. It's available in preview mode today, but I'm very excited to see what kind of solutions we've built using these two things. Next thing is the apps for iOS and Android. Microsoft is continuing to invest and improve the application experience. If you're like me and you use the Outlook app instead of the native mail app, there were some things that were maybe not as intuitive as they could have been, or sometimes if you look at the thread, you see the first sentence instead of the paragraph that followed it. So they're actually improving how that looks and feels. There's a couple of examples on this slide. But if you have the app, just expect a better experience with your next update. So that being said, I'm very proud to introduce our main event, which is complete cloud communications with Skype for Business and voice services. And I'd like to turn it over to Doug, who's been working in the space for quite a while and has a lot of great material for us today.
So I'm a representative TSP here in what now is the Northeast area. Microsoft just went through a reorganization of how we are going to handle accounts. So we're bringing more accounts into what used to be the EPG group. So we've moved that from about 9,000 accounts to about 17,000 accounts. We've moved out for those of you that are lucky enough to work in the financial services industry or in the healthcare industry. You have national teams now that are associated with that, and what used to be the local districts now will handle retail, manufacturing, things like that. So I've been doing communications now for about 25 years. Started out as a Cisco router and switch IP guy, and migrated to telephony probably 1999. Kind of embarrassing to talk about how old I am, but it is what it is. So Skype for Business has really transformed right over time since LCS, OCS, when I first got involved, to what you can do now in the cloud is amazing. We're going to talk a little bit today about what is available online. I'll show you some demonstrations on how to configure a user for some of the voice services online. Just a quick show of hands in the room. How many people actually use Skype for Business? Okay, great. That's awesome. How many are using it for voice services? Actually, all you people should move your hand because it's just by default there, right? So we're going to talk about the services that aren't peer-to-peer or computer-based audio, right? So access to the public switch telephone network, call the pizza shop down the road, have a dial number associated with your meeting. Those things are all available. Just another quick question by a show of hands. How many people are using Teams, Microsoft Teams? Good, yeah, something definitely, just a little wink to y'all that we want to start embracing. Take a look at it, play with it, figure it out. You'll thank me later on. One thing I forgot to mention before we get going, we just announced our earnings for the year, and I want to thank all of you because we beat Wall Street's expectations by a lot. So that's a great thing. It's a great thing for me, obviously, as an employee, but it's a great thing for our customers, too, because we get to invest in our money in development. So thank you. Appreciate that. So when we look at communications, right, at least when I look at it, I think about, why do I have to think about it? Right? For us, like, communicating should just be built in. It should just be part of your experience. And when you think about communication crossing from communication into collaboration, the question I would ask everybody is, well, what is collaboration really about? To me, collaboration is not a tool set. To me, collaboration is content. It's about why you need to talk to someone else. It's not about, I use this tool to go collaborate. I go to this room to have a video conference, right? No, it's about, I need to talk to somebody about some content that we're working on. And that's where the Microsoft stack, in my view, is far superior to anyone else, right? Communication and collaboration is built throughout the stack. It's in everything. It's in the applications that you use. It's in Word. It's in PowerPoint. I'm not sure if you all have it in Excel yet, but I do. We can do co-authoring in Excel. You can co-author. You could be in a Skype meeting and watch a co-authoring session if that's what needs to be done for your work on content. Even the basic part of communication, making a phone call, is about content. I'm not going to call Mike, or I'm not going to call David if I have nothing to talk to them about. I might call my mom just to just a gap. But I'm probably not going to call these guys if I don't have content to share and talk about. And I think as we as IT pros think about communication, we need to educate our businesses on that hey, it's not about a tool, it's about a workflow, it's about content. And the tools that get used should be kind of in the background. And that's really where Skype is going. I know at Staples that we've shown quite a few folks at Staples how Skype can help make people more productive because of that. And in order to do that, you need to have capability. You need to be able to host a meeting. You need to be able to have audio in the meeting. You need to be able to share content. You need to be able to IM each other in the meeting, right? And it should just be natural. So what can we do in Office 365 today? We can make phone calls with the appropriate licensing. You can make a phone call to anywhere in the world, right? You can have dialing numbers that are associated with your meetings, with your Skype meetings, so that people who maybe don't have Skype or aren't at a computer can join their meeting or your meeting. I have to tell you myself, I haven't dialed into a conference bridge in about 5 years. Actually, when I have to dial into one of those lousy conference bridges, it drives me nuts, because usually I'm driving down the road and I'm swerving all over the place trying to remember tax codes and stuff. I just click to join on my Skype on my mobile device, and I don't necessarily actually join with VoIP. I have to call me back, so that's using PSTN conferencing to do that. It calls my phone back, right? Because we all know LTE stinks. It's really not good for a VoIP call. It goes in and out, so I have my phone configured to call me back in meetings. That's important. That helps users, right? So we can do all of these voice services in Office 365 today. We can always do peer-to-peer, right? That's easy. Peer-to-peer is easy. It's peer-to-multiple. That's a little difficult. Just a couple of things about Microsoft's voice services in Office 365. We are by far the biggest carrier in the world, believe it or not. We put more voice traffic on Microsoft's global network than AT&T and Level 3 combined. We're 3 times the amount of voice traffic that goes over when you look at not just Skype and Skype for Business, but Skype Consumer, and you look at Xbox Live, which is what our network was really created for, gamers who are really impatient when audio doesn't work good. And lag is a big deal, right? Like, when you think about that, like, have you ever thought about Microsoft in that vein before? Like, carrying audio traffic like that? Most people say, no way, I don't believe it, but it is true. We do billions of minutes a month. So, how do we help you with some of these services? So, the voice services in Office 365 really come in 3 flavors. You have Cloud PBX. Cloud PBX gives your Skype client a dial pad, right? It's your feature set. It's call, hold, transfer. It's the ability to get a voicemail, right? That's Cloud PBX. And so in order to just enable those features, you would need to have a Cloud PBX license stacked onto E1 or E3. You then layer on top of that calling. So how do you call? Do you use your on-prem? We'll talk a little bit later about using your on-premises infrastructure for your PSTN calling, right? To your trunks to the carriers. You can do that, or you can get numbers from Microsoft. Either way, you can port existing numbers in if you want to. At that point, to me, it's really a math equation. What's the most cost-effective for you? Is your contracts with an AT&T or Verizon or whomever? Are those more cost-effective? Or is it more cost-effective to get a calling plan from Microsoft? That's really what it boils down to. I know at Staples we're doing a lot of those calculations right now with them to decide who's going to get a Microsoft number, who's going to get another, stay where they're at. And I'll show you the administration. It's amazing how fast. I mean, I don't know how many people in the room are telecom people, but to get new numbers from the carrier, it take weeks. I'll get you a new number in about 30 seconds. It's really almost instantaneous. So again, it's Cloud PBX is your ability to do your call management, right? Make and receive a phone call outside of peer-to-peer. You can always do a VoIP peer-to-peer call. It gives you voicemail is included. You don't need to. It's actually not Exchange UM. It's Azure Media Services is where your voicemail is held. I get a lot of questions about, well, how do I dial into my voicemail if I have Cloud PBX? The answer is you don't. You don't need to, because if you have Skype on your mobile device, you can get it. If you can if you can log in on the machine and go to your email, you can get it. Right? So the ability to dial in for voicemail really it's not needed. Right? And by the way, guys, I didn't mention this earlier. If you have questions, please stop me. I'll talk the paint off walls. If you've got questions, stop me and ask. It's quite all right. I hate sitting up here talking. It's just hot. So again, you can do PSTN connectivity provided by Microsoft directly. We'll go and provision a number for you. You will then add it to your user, and you'll be good. When you do that, you need to have a calling plan. So there are two main calling plans. There's domestic and international, and then there's just domestic. The domestic and international gives you about 3,000 minutes a month in the US. Gives you about 3,000 minutes a month per user, and the minutes are pooled at the tenant level. So if you have 10 users, that's 30,000 minutes. That could be used all by one user, or it could be used, across the group. That's about 700 minutes international. And then the domestic is, again, 3,000 minutes of just domestic calling. And to handle those times when you need to make international, we have this thing called a consumption wallet, where you set up a pool of money that's set aside for people to call international. And then you draw down from that every month. Pretty straightforward. There are some other plans that might be available, but it'd be a conversation with your Microsoft SSP to help you. There are other plans, smaller plans. We just don't advertise those, but they are available to in certain circumstances if you need to. Just know that all the plans roll the minutes up at the time.
Question for you. So the thing that you were just talking about, there's that, I forget what they call it, the prepaid.
The consumption wallet?
Yes, the consumption wallet. I've noticed in my tenant that it keeps nagging me that I haven't configured a card for that.
Yes.
Is there any way to tell it to
Stop.
Yeah, stop.
Unfortunately,
I would rather it stop rather than consume its money.
So you have one set up, and it's annoying you to recharge?
No, I've never.
You've never set it up?
Set it up.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a way to turn off the reminder to. I can check it on the distributor. If you want to take questions that I don't have answers for, I'll get them to research for you and we can post them off the group. I don't think there's a way to turn that off.
Okay.
If you're an EA customer, you should not set up a consumption wallet with a credit card.
Right.
You should, because it's part of your EA, it would get charged up and trued up in your EA. Not with a credit card.
But for non-EA customers,
you can do
and people who are, but what I'm thinking more is people who want a very specific budget and they want to be able to control those minutes.
Yeah.
They may be okay with just hitting a hard cap and having
So you can do that. You can set up, say you wanted to put $1,000 in the consumption wallet and you didn't want it to recharge. Right? Recharge is on by default, it'll do it again. You can turn that off. You can absolutely turn off the automatic replenish. And then it'll just go, it just shuts off your ability to make phone calls after that. The other thing too that the consumption wallet is used for is in the conferencing. I'll talk about it later, but in conferencing, the only thing that is chargeable in PSTN conferencing is this international dial. and 800 service. So internet, 800 dial in service is chargeable. So that's using as well. So don't ask me what it is using just some mathematician figured it out.
Tradition.
Yeah. I don't love it. So the other way to make calls with Cloud PBX, right? So your user lives in Skype for Business Online, and you want to make calls, but you want to use this is actually on slide, sorry. So this is actually the flow. This is how it works, right? The user is in customer premise or out on the internet somewhere. They signal up a call to Office 365. Office 365 knows that that call needs to go to the PSTN and routes it out Microsoft's PSTN access in the cloud. Pretty straightforward. Media, in this case, media is between the customer and the media gateways in the Skype for Business infrastructure in the cloud. So all the media goes back to the cloud. There's another one we'll talk about. If I didn't put it in here, my apologies, but we'll talk about it. Oh, it's a few slides up. So here's the basic set of features for Cloud PBX. They're all the features that most people need. I don't know. I did get a question about Call Park. I have not used Call Park my entire life, but apparently it's really important in some locations. But that we're looking to add. We continue to add features to it. But I think for the most case, most people, this is a big thing. And the value around moving certain subsets of your users to the cloud is that you don't have to maintain your own infrastructure. You don't have to maintain PBX licenses. You don't have to maintain PBX ports. You don't have to maintain carrier ports. It's all done in the cloud. What do you got? You look like, I believe in Avaya. What's that? Avaya Tech. So yeah. Well, I used to work for Avaya. But it's not to deal with that. What's that? I don't have to deal with that anymore. Yeah, it's actually kind of nice. Yeah, I used to work for Avaya before Microsoft actually came to Multicam. So again, here's basically how you get them. Your numbers, right? You get a number from Microsoft. You can bring your own numbers. The configuration is so easy. It's like, oh my god. I mean, you can do it in PowerShell. Like, go to PowerShell. That's kind of. I would just go to the admin portal. Just click on the user, silent number. Conferencing. So essentially, what PSTN conferencing does is it, like I said before, it gives you the ability to dial in to your meeting. Without it, you don't have a dial number. For those of you running Skype, you can have Skype meeting, and people can join with VoIP all day long. But somebody on a plain old telephone at their mom's house can't get into your meeting, right? And the other thing you don't get is dial back, which is really important. That's what I use to join my meeting because I don't trust everything. It's not a great network for VoIP.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Like, what's you're insinuating that there's a quality difference between if you dial in or if the system calls you back.
So you can dial in if I dial. So there's two ways to access the Skype. There's with VoIP, voice over IP, right? That's when I just click join and I use the client on my mobile phone. That's fine on my PC where I'm sitting in a fixed location. But if I'm flying down the highway and I'm jumping cells and I'm on the Verizon or AT&T LTE network, that's not a great experience. Those networks really weren't set up to maintain the voice over IP call. The cellular part of that, though, the cellular part of those networks is. So what I have my mobile device do is I still do one-click join. But when I click join, the meeting calls me back on my cell number, not on my Skype client. Right, so I'm using the cellular network. I'm using minutes essentially, but I don't know how many people have minute plans anymore. Now they charge it for data, and charge it for minutes and text, right? for data. So maybe it's more expensive to do a voice call than it is to do cellular minutes. But I do it because it's a more reliable network.
Yeah.
Right? You can maintain the call better. It's kind of what it's built for. PSTN conferencing gives you that ability. And it also gives you the ability, so that's the dial out, right? You can pull somebody in from any number. You know, you need to pull in somebody at the cottage out on the Cape. You can dial them in, right? And it also gives dial in numbers that are advertised with it as well. I have a stat slide. Next slide. So it's pretty robust. It's 90 countries across the globe, about 400 cities across the globe have the local dial-in numbers. Dial-in, we don't charge for. So we don't charge for dial-in. We do charge for international dial-out. So it's charged per user per month. PSTN conferencing, just like PTX is. And we only charge international dial out, 800 dial. None of the dial in is charged. That's a big difference between a traditional audio conferencing service. They charge you both things. Some of the customers I've worked with have found millions of dollars of return on investment just for that. So if you want to, do those calculations, pretty easy. Just get the bill that your company has for dialing conferencing. Figure out what your cost is for this, and take out all the dial in. Right? The dial out, like I still need to say that you maybe have to pay that because you need to have some kind of buffer for international. What have you?
That was one of our key drivers.
Figure out.
The change.
It actually funded the entire Office 365 project. It was that big. Staples had some massive ROIs going all in with Microsoft that we just finished with. I'm sorry, you can hear.
You have to sign a license for users.
Correct.
Is there a way to share it because we have
No.
users that just not high conferencing that need it?
So the only person that needs dial-in conferencing actually is the host. So theoretically you can share it, right? Anybody can dial the number, doesn't matter. But if you want to host a meeting and advertise those dial-in numbers, then you have to have a license for it. Domestic dial-out is included. So that call me back domestically, and that's across the globe. So if your company is in the UK, you have users in the UK, you can give them, set their location to the UK, when they dial out in the UK, that's not charging for their meetings. Any other questions on that? It's a little confusing, I have to admit. I get into really crazy call discussions with customers sometimes because it's like what's chargeable, what's not. Just remember it's where the host is. So anybody dialing in from the UK doesn't pay, but if I'm in the meeting and I dial out to a user in the UK, that's chargeable. So just remember where the host resides. We do dynamic conference IDs, which is a security feature. We didn't at first; they were all static, and everybody screamed and said they wanted dynamic. Now I do still have some customers who are like, "Well, I want certain users to have static IDs because they're used to cutting and pasting in the internet, right?" And I tell them, "Look, you got to modernize. You just got to modernize. It's like you shouldn't have to think about that. You shouldn't have to cut and paste the conference ID into your meeting anymore. It's just there." Dynamic is much better. When I worked actually at Avaya, I used to deal a lot with business partners. So I would have one business partner and then a meeting with the next business partner overlap. If I didn't have dynamic conference IDs, that'd be a big problem.
So just to elaborate on that, we actually use Wellington Street Consulting's Skype account for doing these broadcasts for streaming and things like that. And we waited until Microsoft made this dynamic before I could do that.
Sure.
Because otherwise we're sharing out my personal conference ID URL to Twitter and things like that. And anybody could click on those and hop in on any meeting I had with any of my clients.
And if you didn't have it locked down, they could use your thing as an organizer.
Right.
It was not a good thing, but I still can't believe I have customers that.
Yeah, I was able to open a ticket and they flipped mine to dynamic.
Yep.
And
they will put you back if you insist, but it's your entire time.
Yeah.
It's not for you. So you can go back to static, but it's on everybody. It's just the way it is. For some god-awful reason, people like meeting entry. I personally look at the roster in the meeting. Like, I know who's on call. If I see a number I don't recognize or something, then I ask, hey, is it blah, 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 you know, just taking time out of the day. So from the meeting, this is, I like this one, right? So, I pulled the deck and I didn't pull out all the marketing slides. So when we look for value in Office 365, we like to try to pull out costs wherever we can, because these subscription services should be making it less expensive, right? So what we say is that for your users, it's almost like a no-brainer just to give everybody the PSTN Calling and not get into the competitive market that where you're selectively choosing who has these accounts and who doesn't. I have one customer I work with that they actually have a workflow set up in SharePoint where a user goes and can actually go and self-provision themselves for a lot of these services. They go out, they ask, right? And then it has to be approved, right? There's an approval process for it, but IT doesn't do anything. They created the SharePoint site. They have an application. It has an approval process built into it, so they get an email or whatever to the manager. Manager says right back approved. It automatically goes out and provisions the licenses. You can do a lot of that with Azure Active Directory group-based licensing. Interesting topic. Go to Microsoft site about Azure group-based licensing. It's pretty cool for those that design licensed it. Keeping track of all of our SKUs and sub-service SKUs is like a full-time job. Azure group-based licensing lets you create a group, assign a specific subset of licenses to that group, and just add the users to that group. And then if you want to change the licensing, change them to a different group. So it's pretty cool. You don't have to go out and do crazy PowerShell and stuff like that. But enable the users, and really, Microsoft's view of dial-in or PSTN conferencing, it's kind of the fallback, right? It's the I don't have the ability to use my client to get it. It's not really like traditional audio conferencing, which is like I go here to conference, right? Remember how I started the discussion? The tools should just have the ability to do things. You shouldn't have to think about it. I shouldn't have to think about, I dialed this number and this passcode to go to a conference. No, I should just set up a meeting. It should all be there. And the user that's coming into my meeting decides the best way for them to get into the meeting, to digest content or to hear the audio. Right? So this is not a replacement, I would say, for traditional audio conferencing service like PGI, one of them. This is the add-on to Skype meetings that allows Skype users to join. Makes sense? The other one is
when there will be non-Skype users, like when they will be joining this, so if there anything will be installed on their device?
If they dial in, no. If they want to join with the web app, then yes, it doesn't require, and the new version of the web app does not require administrative rights on the PC. It used to. We've redesigned the web app interface. We had a lot of complaints that it was complicated, and it was, right? I really couldn't tell. Actually, you. Yeah, sure. We, we had a lot of complaints about the web joint experience being kind of cumbersome. You couldn't really tell, like, it didn't have the ability to sense that you already had the plugin installed and this and that. It does now, and it also doesn't require administrative rights, which is really quite nice. I'd like to see a day when that goes away completely. That's highly dependent on browser settings. I know it is in the roadmap to do that.
So you mean to say for voice filing, it's not required?
Yes.
For if you're sharing a screen, something then you require.
Correct.
Client versus something.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And we also fixed the federation issue. For those familiar with Skype, if you had one entity who blocked federation and tried to join, there was lots of issues. But with joining that meeting, now even with a client who failed back with that as gas, go to a meeting and unblock federation. We've done a lot. That was a big pain point for us, big time. But
You're on the latest version of the on-premises version of this solution. The web meeting.
Okay, I'm going to give away one answer. It's not split workload. You'll see later. So you can't split the workload, but we're going to talk about hybrid, right? So users either all on-prem or all online. And their experience is determined on whether they're online, the user's home online, or home on-prem. That's called hybrid. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But to answer your question, the latest CU for Skype for Business Server on-prem has the updated meeting experience. So it's like CU5. I think a new update to CU5 just came out. We're highly focused online at Microsoft, so like as a TSP, I have to spend a lot of time on-prem. It really hasn't changed much. We just keep, enhancing and adding stuff. A lot of the enhancements being done online. Pay attention, there's going to be some massive things that happen in this year with Skype for Business Online. So how do we handle, does anybody know, trivia question, anybody know the cap for the number of users that can be in a meeting in Skype for Business Online or on-prem? You can't answer that. Really? It's 250. So you can have 250 participants in one meeting, whether you're online or on-prem, it's the same. So how do you handle bigger meetings? Please don't say string 250 participant meetings together. Which can be done. No. Have you joined my meeting? Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. I've actually seen that one. And it's used with this. So how do we go beyond 250 users? Well, if you look at a 250 user active participant meeting, that is mayhem, right? How can you have 250 active people in a meeting talking and doing all, sharing different content? You can't. So the thought is, at about 250 users, you probably got one or a few presenters presenting content for attendees to consume. And it's really not about being an active, participant in that meeting. It's more about being an active listener. And maybe you have a few questions in that meeting. So you have to have a mechanism to be able to get your questions in. So we come up with Skype Meeting Broadcast. Skype Meeting Broadcast is exactly that. It's a broadcast service that's included in Office 365. Something Chris Bortlick taught me, never say free, because you paid for it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's included in the service. So Skype Meeting Broadcast E1 and above, it scales up to 10,000 participants per meeting. And the thought is you have several active speakers, and up to 10,000 people consuming it on virtually any browser. So I know that Chrome works, IE works, Edge works, Safari works. I don't have Firefox, but you do. It works in Firefox, right? So what this does is it allows you for those big meetings. It gives you a way to broadcast that service. Now, somebody was talking. You were talking earlier about media and the way media can be multicast, right? And most of these broadcast services, including in Office 365, are all unicast service, meaning each participant is pulling the stream down, right? So there are third-party products that if you have any scale of using this on your network, you're going to look at having collected.
We got to do that staple because we've obliterated our network. The first time Shira did a webcast through Skype for Me broadcast, we had almost 7,000 people trying to jump at the same time. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was awesome. The internet pipes were like smoking.
They were crying.
So just something to think about, right? If you have, good internet pipes, you don't have 7,000 people trying to go at one time. Maybe you don't need Hyper Collective, right? But it's definitely something to look at. What they do is they turn in this unicast into a multicast, right? It's a hive type mentality where a couple of people are pulling the stream down, and then other child machines are connecting to them and pulling the stream, so it's not all going over their internet pipe. We use this all the time inside Microsoft. Microsoft Ready is going on right now out in Las Vegas. Anyone guess why I didn't go? Because I was coming here. No, because it's 100 and something degrees there. Right? I don't want to go there. It's hot enough here for me. But I actually keep up at home. Right? I watch Satya's keynote addresses with this technology. I watch some of the other executives giving their keynotes with this technology. So again, you don't have to deploy. We call it Skype Meeting Broadcast, but you don't have to use Skype for Business Online for this. You can be an on-prem customer as long as you have E1 and above. You can use Skype Meeting Broadcast. This saves a lot of money too for your organization. A lot of those broadcast services are really expensive. Really, really. I know WebEx was Game Center.
Yeah. We actually use Brightcove and like 3 other systems to do what Skype for Me broadcast does similar.
Yeah, those are expensive. These are included with your subscription.
No search.
No. Nope, included with the service. Not free though.
What license are those for?
E1 and above.
E1 and above?
Yeah, so.
Years? Those are all.
Yeah, I don't know if education. I don't know if education licensing. Well, they're all E1, so.
So, education. If I log in, Skype online ad and things like, yeah, you're all set.
Here.
If I go to the broadcast portion, this isn't on.
It says you don't have it?
It says my administrators set it to the license.
Huh.
Broadcast piece is a check next to education.
Yeah.
I think it does. I think it does, but I'll check.
You would think that it would.
It doesn't make sense to have one.
It sort of makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Maybe.
It's a great application for that.
It is. Well, I think it's actually more than just making money for Microsoft. So think about what the damage you could do to the virtual classroom world if it gave this with their subscription. I mean, antitrust is still a big deal. Like, watch, guys. My opinion, Amazon said, they're heading for this problem.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful, right? So we've been talking a lot about online, and there are some on-prem customers here. I still have some on-prem customers.
Not here.
Well, he's got Skype for Business on-prem, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. It's okay.
I'm working on it.
You don't need to. Hybrid. Hybrid's awesome. Hybrid is actually, the hybrid models within Office 365 are one of my favorite things because it gives the customer the choice where to use things. If you really dig into the technical ins and outs of Skype for Business and where problems arise, they always arise with media. That's the same story with any VoIP system, right? So if I have a bunch of users that are out running around the country or the world, having them host a home and host, they are going to be hosted. Sorry. It worked out pretty hard today, so I'm tired. Having them hosted online actually makes a lot of sense. They're probably going to have internet access wherever they go. I don't want to pull that traffic. I want to backhaul that traffic all the way back to my data center for them to make a phone call or do an IM, what have you, right? I just put them online. But you know what? If I've got 2,000 users sitting in an office building, do I want all that media traffic going to Office 365? Probably not, is the answer. Probably not. So I can use hybrid, right? I can have a hybrid in a couple of different architectures. I can have a hybrid where I take my Skype for Business or my Link 2013. Please don't ask about Link 2010. It can be done, but not for voice. So it supports everything but the voice workflow with Link 2010. But I can take my Skype for Business on-premise environment, and I can stay the same address space with Skype for Business online. And now I have a hybrid. The only real thing to think about there is that registrations will always proxy through your on-prem environment. So when your users log in, the first thing they're going to connect to, because your DNS records are going to point them to on-prem, is they're going to connect to on-prem. On-prem is going to authenticate them and push them to online. So you just have to be aware that your edge is not really important, because all of your users, are wherever they are in the world, are going to proxy first. So, but it does give me the ability to assign, if I've got, a user that needs services that online can't do, response groups. Maybe I use them, and online can't replicate those today. Well, I can keep those users that are in the response group on premise. What I see a lot of my customers doing is minimizing their on-prem infrastructure to meet the need. Right? You used to have the two pools, you'd have the standard edition, or you'd have enterprise edition pools, and they could get quite large. Well, I have a lot of customers, big customers, that are moving a lot of their users are online and minimizing the needs for on-prem, and they're taking a lot of their enterprise pools and making them standard edition pools that are pool paired, just to minimize the amount of stuff they have in the data center. You can, of course, keep your on-premise infrastructure if you want. There's nothing wrong with it. We're continuing to invest in on-premise. You're going to see this year an announcement around the release of the next version of Skype for Business on-prem that will come. And then, of course, we've got pure online. I like hybrid. It gives choice. There's two hybrid configurations. And they're about how your PSTN connectivity works. So you can proxy your PSTN connections through your on-premises environment, right? But if you're only keeping that around to connect to your on-prem trunks from your carrier, AT&T or whatever, that's a lot of hardware to keep around just to proxy those connections, right? So we have this thing called the Cloud Connector Edition, which allows you to just put in a lightweight link pool. It's really an unmanaged link pool that sits on-prem to just connect your on-premises infrastructure, whether it be your PC or gateway from your carrier or PBX, to Skype for Business online. You can do it. You will be able to co-res that with an on-premises deployment pretty soon, which is what I really need because I've got customers with big deployments and they want to migrate to Cloud Connector. There's this nice small appliance base from Audio Codes or Sonos, and put them on high-speed servers. They're going from a 2 or 3 server down to 1, right? To that. So I can problem coexist. You can move people over. You couldn't do that before. You can do it now. It's a much needed update to the Cloud Connector edition. So you can get them in 2 flavors. If you're a Cloud PBX customer, CCP is available to download on Microsoft's website. I mean, technically, you don't need PBX to download it, but if you don't have it, you can't use it. So it's out there. Or you can buy an appliance. I like the appliances because most of the appliances come with either gateway or SBC connected to them. The Cloud Connector does not have it.
Sure. SBC is a package for Cloud Connector addition to that. Talk to switch up one.
No.
Is it for Fluffle?
Yes, sir. Oh. I'm right in the middle of it. Like I've got a lot of customers really mad. Yeah. So what you're referring to is that Microsoft just announced that we are ending support for SBC connects to Exchange Online for Unified Messaging. Right. You need to get off of that by next July. I understand the intent. I do. I don't appreciate the execution with them, which is the feedback I've given to the product team. And a lot of the customers that I've got 5 customers that are affected, and in this area, I kind of own that thing. So I'm going to be picking up the 7 more, and all of them are really unhappy. So, no, it doesn't.
Oh. It needs to be the cloud.
It needs to be an on-prem deployment.
Okay.
So as long as you have an on-prem deployment, you can do it as a partner application, and then you can send it over. There's another way around it. Just get a PBX license for everybody, configure a fake number for them. Because I'm assuming you're doing it. Are you doing it through your PBX? Is that what you're using it for?
When you were about to buy an SPC, so if you've got
Good thing you didn't buy it.
it's still plugged up there. I mean, just bought it.
Yeah.
But you got on-premises exchange for faculty, or on-premises, exchange and Skype business for faculty and staff. Their students are all
Yeah. Okay.
So the effort was to move back into staff into the cloud as well.
Well, they'll get voicemail with not PBX. Are they using Skype as their PBX stuff? That's the problem.
Sorry, I think you buy or
Yeah.
you know, telecom team, you get an SPC and got that and was creating that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you could do is connect that to your PBX. So connect your on-premises environment to your PBX and use it as the partner application to Exchange Online, UN Online. Or get them a Cloud PBX license and then assign them a fake number, right? Or it could be the real DID and just make that Cloud PBX end of the road. So from your PBX, right, and you probably know what I'm talking about here, right? Coverage path to Skype, and then Skype is the one thing that has voice instead of having a separate coverage path. They have a lot of problems with that service, believe it or not. I've set up probably, I don't know, 80 or 90 systems like that in my career. Before I came to Microsoft, I actually worked at a business partner and built a practice, and that was kind of like our our keep the lights on service operators doing those. So those guys are really unhappy. My buddy said we're still left there. We're kind of ticked off. But I do have, some big customers who are less than thrilled about that. PBX? Yeah. That has a voicemail. That has a voicemail in it. It's unfortunate. I actually got into a pretty nasty discussion with the product team over that one. So that's kind of what the Cloud Connect looks like, right? You connect. It is essentially a link pool or a Skype for Business pool. It has an edge server. It has a mediation server role in it. It has an Active Directory server. Before anybody has a heart attack, it's only to manage communication between the roles on the device. It doesn't connect. Do not connect to your on-prem AD. And that's it. Right? It does not register though, so it's not like a Skype server, right? You cannot register. It doesn't provide failover services or anything. It's just a pass-through for those PSTN services. So, kind of, what does it look like? The interesting thing is that Cloud Connector can support more simultaneous connections than an on-premises front-end server. Right? And it can run on, one or two CPUs. It doesn't. There's a small, like i7 small one that does like 50 sessions as well. You can get out there and download. I like the appliances because then I get everything I need in one box. I'm going to need, if I'm connecting to a carrier, I'm going to need a gateway. That gateway might be a SBC because it's SIP, or that gateway might be a TDM, T1 PRI. If I'm connecting to a PBX via Cisco and you name it, I'm going to need the SBC to connect between the two. I'm going to need, or maybe it's an old Nortel that doesn't have SIP, it's just got a PRI. I need a PRI gateway to connect to it. So I'm going to need that anyways. I'd rather just have it in one box. It's easier for me to manage. Kind of some strategies before I show you kind of what it looks like to manage. Sure.
Where we are using like simultaneously calls, like 750 calls or 2,500 calls, like in which scenario, like it is server configuration or what?
Are you talking about in here? Where does this matter?
Yeah, 750 calls, simultaneous calls, something like that.
Yeah. So when you connect to something outside of Skype, right? You have resources that need to be engaged. The mediation server is actually the resource that gets engaged to talk to anything that's on Skype. All calls that go to a gateway of any sort, SBC or otherwise, need to have mediation. On-premises front-end servers can only handle 150 simultaneous calls. So you can have 150 simultaneous calls going out to your carrier in that scenario. If you took the mediation server role off the front end and put it on its own, it could do 1,500 up to 1,500, right? Cloud Connector handles each Cloud Connector appliance, and you can have multiples, handles 500 simultaneous calls. So it's all about scaling the number of calls that you need to go outside of Skype. Peer-to-peer never goes through a mediation server.
Oh,
right? Unless you have a phone recording device in the middle. If you have a phone recording device in the middle that's recording calls, then you actually will go through a mediation server because what it technically does is turn into a conference. Right? Okay. So some migration strategies, right? How you can get there. Actually, you're kind of doing it now. You are, right? Start small. don't let off the whole and get let at one time. You don't need to use hybrid to your advantage, right? Start out a little bit. Hey, this is pretty kind of cool. Let's grow. I mean, that's what we did at Stable. We did a POC. They have 24,000 users. We did a POC of 75. Right? We tried it out, gave the tires, gave them numbers from Skype. We didn't do a test of CCE because really in a POC you're trying to prove out, does Skype offer you enough capabilities for your users to be happy? I would tell you that I think they'll be even more happy because they can work from anywhere. Right? They're not fixed to a phone number in a PBX. And even Cisco, it's just a PBX. It's no different to me than a Visio or Nortel or Siemens or Shortel. They're all the same. Right? Those numbers live in that PBX. Right? So start out small. If you've got multinational companies, work in the US first, and then go to places where if you want to get services from Microsoft, go to those places. The UK, France, the UK, France, Spain, the Netherlands. What's the other one? Oh, Ireland. There's like 7 countries where you can get numbers from Microsoft. That's all in Puerto Rico. Yeah. That's growing. That's going to grow exponentially this year. We'll cover most of Europe this year. Places that are always difficult for this kind of stuff. In Canada. Canada is always difficult. Actually, Canada is very difficult with PSTN services. They're very difficult. India is always difficult. India has very difficult telecom rules. So this can be difficult in India. China is China. Yeah. Like there's just a giant firewall. Right? It was built a long time ago. You can see it from space. It's painful. China's painful. We have some mechanisms though that help in some of these areas, like China, like India, and we have a couple of things that we do in the service. One is multi-regional meetings. So you can today go and assign your users to a region. Like, for example, the UK. They use the UK because they're almost the US. With these services, like they're like the first ones to get them. Let's say you have a bunch of people that are in the UK, and they're all joining a meeting, and they're in Skype for Business Online, right? That meeting is hosted independent in the US. Well, that's not great. I got to come across the ocean or under the ocean. Yeah, we just put in a 12 terabyte freaking fiber link, but it doesn't matter. It's still distance, right? So what you have the ability to do now is you can set those users up so that their data is in the data center in Europe. So they're closer. Their meeting host is closer to them. That's really good, especially for Asia. Asian countries, Japan, India, and Australia is not really Asia, but those those countries over there. That helps for China a lot. So you can put them in a Hong Kong data center. At least they're closer. I have a scenario though. It's very funny. A customer took us a little while to figure this out, but their users were in China. They had no problems during the day in China. No issues whatsoever. Every night at 9:45, everything would go down. So we finally figured out why. Anybody want to take it out? Yeah, but why did they do it at like 9:45 every night?
When that firewall reboots?
No, it's when the East Coast of the United States comes up, is waking up.
Yeah.
So they just shut it down and make it difficult because that's who they know they want to talk to, and it's amazing, and it'll go away. Like when it's like 5 or 6 o'clock, all of a sudden all the issues are gone. So China's really tough. Another one that's really tough is the UAE. So in United Arab Emirates is a tough place for this stuff. India is not tough. It's just you have to be very careful in India. There are telecom laws that are very strict. just to be careful. But the UAE had a one there. So start small, start where it works well. Use hybrid to your advantage. Reach out to your technical resources at Microsoft. We're all here to help. We want to make these things successful. Really focus on adoption and training. This is the shift in the way people work. It's just, there is some comfort feel with picking up the telephone. I mean, it's worked for 150 years. There's some comfort associated with that. Be sensitive to that. I've seen really good deployments go really bad because they didn't pay attention to end users wanting training. That's hugely important. Even if you're coming from one system to another, let's say you've got a population of users that are all used to WebEx or all used to GoToMeeting, and you switch them to this, it is a change, and you need to manage it. You need to make sure that they are trained, understand, they have access to materials to learn how to use it, because it is different. It's most of it different. Those are the things I can tell you. If you've got carrier contracts, don't be afraid to connect them up with Cloud Connector Edition or on-prem environment and reuse those, keep those contracts. But it becomes a financial math equation, which is cheaper. Also, so with that, done with the presentation part, I do want to show you guys, if you're interested, it's entirely up to you. I was going to show you kind of what does it look like to provision user these services. Let me just shut down my Windows machine. I don't really need it. And if anybody wants to take a bio break, now would be a good time. Come on. Yep, I know. Oh, and that's fun. The only reason I have a Mac is because it's easier to, I have a lot of customers that have Mac, and it's easier to run Windows on a Mac than to use Mac on Windows. So, it is. Just saying. Yeah, I bought a Mac because I work with Staples. They're painful with Mac over there. Dave's laughing. Yeah. So, we look at our users here. We'll pick my son. He's always a good demo partner. Of course, we have to have licenses, right? So E5, you don't actually have to have E5 for Cloud PBX. You can add it on to E1, or you can add it on to E3 as a standalone SKU. You don't have to have E5. There are other benefits of E5. Let me make this bigger. There we go. Mainly, those are about cost takeout for other components that E5 provides, SPE5. So identity, advanced threat protection, things like that. When we look at a customer and we work with a customer, we try to get, we look at it as a stool with 3 legs. And if you get 2 legs of that stool to be covered by Office 365 successfully, 9 times out of 10, it's more cost effective to do that, right? But if you can only get 1, it's probably not the most cost effective thing to do. That's why we still have add-on SKUs. So you can add on Cloud PBX, you can add on PSTN conferencing. If your users need Power BI or something like that, you're better off having E5 because it costs less than those 3 components combined. So understanding that's important. So we have PSTN conferencing and Cloud PBX. We can switch those on and save it. And we should be good. It takes a few minutes for it to flow through to the Skype for Business Admin Center.
While you're in there, I had a question. Actually, Mr. Kaleshi and I were doing some digging around with calling queues.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking for a capability to have a call queue that would just go direct to voicemail.
Can't.
Right. That's something very quickly discovered.
Yes, it cannot. It has to go to a user that covers. You can have that user not logged in.
Yeah.
I hear you. So
So the need for like a departmental or a shared mailbox that has a voicemail attached to it,
they need PBX.
understood. But we need a mechanism to allow for that. I see that as a large gap.
I do too.
Is there
There are
things you know of?
Yeah, there are plans to enhance call queues and auto attendants to allow for that. Because really, to do that,
Yeah.
the theory behind the
I mean,
office.
it was really shocking too, because all the other things that it does, it's pretty cool, are so much more sophisticated.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. It's the way the product team works on this product or introduces new things like auto attendant call queues. The hard work is getting the base to work, and then enhancing it pretty easy, right? We do 6 week, we do 6 week sprints on enhancements. Once you get the base mechanism in there, so the enhancements will come quite quickly for that. So yeah, it was a complaint of mine too. I was like, oh, guys, you're calling it a call queue and auto attendant. I can't drop it into a voicemail unless I have a licensed user with Cloud PBX. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, you try to tell that from the Netherlands, so we understand. Hey, goodbye. It's true. Well, we're gonna have fun, guys. It's like after 5. We're all here. So let's go to voice here. So if you wanted to port your numbers, you would go to port, right? If you have a lot of numbers, we'll actually manage it for you through the Fast Track printer. Fast Track actually is an entitlement for E1, E3 customers, so use it up. And it's not a one-time thing. Fast Tracks or entitlements can be continually used. They are. Does everybody know what Fast Track is? Kinda. So Fast Track is Microsoft's way of helping you use the technology. The way I describe Fast Track over like a business partner is that Fast Track will point you to the material. They won't actually do it and make recommendations on you should do it like this or you should do it like that. They'll just help you sort of organize your own thoughts. And they're good for customers who are highly technical and know how to do all of this stuff. They just need guidance, right? Unless it's things like moving mailboxes, right? So we'll kind of like grind through, do that grind through sort of quote unquote monkey work for you with Fast Track. They'll do that. They'll do data moves from like Google Drive to OneDrive. They'll do those kind of things. It's not. I call that not high value work, right? Not to be offensive, but it's. I mean, I can teach my 9-year-old daughter that stuff. It's pretty easy, right? Use your consultants and your business partners to do the high value, the important stuff, planning, training, the architecture, the design. Fast Track is going to just kind of get you to the material for you to read. But it is a good entitlement. They definitely have lots of material, adoption, and stuff like that that can help you out.
And what's the point of that fee for Fast Track?
E1. I don't think it matters. I think they took that cap out. I'll double check for you, but I thought they took that away. I thought it was E1 and above. So say if you like, if you have more than 1,000 numbers you want to port, let us know. That's the pain. Right. And another thing on porting numbers is not up to the receiving carrier. In case Microsoft, it's up to the carrier that's letting know. Sometimes if it's street abbreviated capital S, lowercase t, they will deny port request. It's really a sticky thing. Verizon and AT&T are pretty good about it. I've seen some smaller carriers that are not so fun to deal with. So here's where you have your phone numbers. And if you go and you click on the plus, you'll see we have a couple of different number types, we have user numbers and we have service numbers. Service numbers are assigned to auto attendants, right, or call queuers. Service numbers are also numbers for conferences. So what I didn't tell you earlier was that if you had an office in Arizona and noticed that one of the numbers that was listed there was not a Phoenix number, you can go request the service number. And it's based on the number of users that you have defined. So if I wanted to go to Arizona and select Phoenix, I can get one service number. And I'll just take the one that's there. You can, you know, oh, I like that. I don't like that number. I don't want to acquire that number. So I'm going to take this service number. But
I'm on the Skype Hybrid team. I grabbed a whole bunch of really nice numbers.
good. Take them.
But speaking to that, do they have a process for porting numbers? Because again, I did put it as beta, so there weren't service numbers as an option.
Yeah.
I would like to port a bunch of those to become service numbers.
You still do that. You can't port. You can't like
I successfully done it for one number, and it took
forever. Yeah. I don't think we still don't do service number port. We do user number, which is unfortunate, but I really do think that has to do with legal stuff.
So they made me fill out a
Form.
regular porting form, but it really wasn't applicable because both the receiving and the destination provider were both Microsoft. And when I filled it out that way, their support was just completely baffled. I'm like, well, yeah, this isn't the right form. That's why you're baffled.
So you had a user number you want to turn into a service number,
Yes.
vice versa. Yeah, that's
Yes, it is.
very difficult. Like, they
And I
have to
still have a
change-
bunch of those that I would like to convert.
Did support couldn't get those?
They,
It took. I'm
they
sure it
did
took a while.
one- They did one after 3 to 4 weeks.
I can imagine. I know what they'd have to go through in the back end to do that. That's not that's not PowerShell. That's front end PowerShell us guys doing. That's like way back stuff.
Somebody with a cable.
Pretty much. Yeah,
That's not like people who haven't seen the light of day in like 14
yeah, they're
years.
very white. Right? They're very haven't seen the light of day. So I got this service number, right? And I want to assign this, as a company. Or I could assign it. I could assign it as a number for a call queue, right? If I wanted to, but I assigned numbers as a conference group. I can make this number my default, right? So by default, your tenant will get a number in the city where the tenant's build-to address is. And maybe you want that to be your default number, maybe you don't. Maybe sometimes you want to change the default number because you're migrating a whole bunch of users at one time. You want to give the same number. So the way you do it is just change the default real quick instead of manually assigning it.
I think you said yes to this already, but we have our own set of numbers. We've got all 603,
Yep. You can. Yeah, you can. Your user numbers, or your DID. Service numbers, like 800 numbers and stuff. But yeah, where are you in New Hampshire?
We're in Durham University.
Oh, cool. I live in Dover.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we should grow up together.
There's people.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So we just saved it until so I got the number in like 2 seconds. I assigned it to a conference bridge in the next 2 seconds, and now users can use it. So now, if I want to assign that to a user, you will see. So let's go to calling conferencing.
So what will be like roughly charges for when you assign this number?
What did I just do?
No, you have assigned this number.
Mm-hmm.
So approximate cost, how much it will come for this?
Zero.
Zero.
Doesn't cost you anything to get enough. Doesn't cost you anything to assign that number to dial in. Well, yeah, that's, it doesn't cost you anything additional. So getting numbers are not,
You mentioned that if it is domestic, you will get 3,000 minutes, something like that. So, is there any charges for that?
only if it's a user number. This is a service number, so this is a dial-in number. There is no charge for that.
Okay.
On your question though about porting numbers, something I want you to know, we don't let you port
like a 1,000 block.
and only use 50. So that's like a trick, like a telecom trick that I used to play all the time. I just don't give 1,000. They don't price care. Right? They charge you the same for 100 numbers as they will for 1,000 numbers. Didn't matter. We don't allow you to port in.
You know, there's a ratio. I forget the actual ratio, but there is a maximum number will allow you to port in and leave empty.
I think it's like 10% of the number of users
You have with Cloud PBX, so it's not a lot of numbers, but you know that used to be like.
I'm sure if you look in your PBX, you've got numbers just not used, you know, hundreds of numbers not used.
Be cognizant of that. The thought process is that in the Skype world, numbers are irrelevant.
You're not actually calling a phone number. You call somebody. It's Skype phone.
Right?
So we decided this is a conference bridge, right?
So I want to go here now and look at Gavin here. Take a look at him, and we'll assign that as his number. So he's right now in Boston. I really love the way this list works. It's so intuitive.
So awesome.
Isn't it awesome? It's spectacular. But
Is it sorted by alphabetical database?
no, it's
alphabetic, which
So
is
by the town.
By the town.
yeah, which makes
Which is not displayed at the beginning of the.
yeah,
Just the name sort of.
it makes complete sense. So I'm looking for here it is. So
another nice feature of PSTN conferencing is that, let's say you have a bunch of users that are in sales, and sales typically doesn't want to make the customer pay to dial in to the number, right? You can selectively decide who gets 800, who advertises the 800 number, and who doesn't. Which is kind of nice, right?
So if they don't have it, and the other thing is that we just enhanced the service too. Another one of my customers actually put this complaint in. Used to be, if you had 800 service,
In the find a local number, the 800 number would show up, and people could use it. Now, it doesn't actually show the 800 number unless you're the host that has it. Then it'll show up, find a local number, it'll show up in your list, and everything. Right? It was you could, like, if you were smart,
I don't have time to go through that, but if you're smart, you can figure it out.
this is kind of a nice feature to be able to do that.
So I just click save, and now when his invite comes, he's going to advertise this number instead of the number that it used to be. It's really that quick. So I have some unassigned numbers, but we'll go get a new number. So if I want to go and get a new user number, where's something you want to pick? Oh, okay, I gotta change this location. This takes a while. Make a U.S. location, please. Chicago, Illinois, that's an easy one. Illinois, Chicago, any specific area code Chicago you want? Doesn't matter. And I'm just going to get one. I try not to select a number if I don't need to, but even for customers. Again, I can look at the number. Oh, that looks good. Acquire it. So once this is done, that number is ready to be assigned. The whole reason behind getting 1,000 blocks when I was in real telecom was to get numbers was a pain. So just have them ready for when you get people. If you can do it like this, and essentially what we've done is we just can acquire the numbers for you. We have these pools of numbers that you can use.
We took it out of the end user's worry. We just did it for them,
Right?
Same number as the personal spec?
No. They're different. Separate. Yeah, very separate.
Or if your text is unique.
So, at a university where you've got blocks, you can go and migrate those blocks anyway.
That's not more.
We can work on an exception. It's just not, so we don't advertise that we, let you do that. We can. So yeah, if you can set up a dial plan and do extension dialing, it's really not necessary. The other way you can do extension dialing is just advertise about the number in 8 weeks, and then when they look at the user, they'll have that extension if they want to. In Skype, it doesn't matter. Skype normalizes to E164. That's the only dial plan it does. Anything else you have to do digit manipulation to make it get into Skype. There is external dial plan. I don't know if my tenant has it. I think if this is my my demo tenant. It doesn't have it. But in previews extension. So you can if you have a CCE or an on-prem environment that's connected to it, you can do essentially what we do is we just do normalization. So when the user dials the extension, it normalizes and calls it.
Ties additional the phone numbers.
It doesn't. No, it can same thing on premise. Yeah. Gotcha. I wish it did, because that would be awesome. You could write a script, do that pretty easily. You can write a PowerShell script. That's pretty easy in PowerShell script to do that. To pull it out of the AD and then pump it into that same user's SID address. It makes it unused, but it doesn't throw it back to Microsoft. It makes it unused in your tenant. See, I have.
Your company doesn't need it.
Yeah. Let me show you. See here, I have these numbers that I'm assigned to Bob. I don't give them up.
So is it like the email or
No. These I've unassigned them months ago.
a lot of people that leave and come back.
Yeah.
So we'll know that number that I disabled them, and then after 30 days, it still knows that.
It's not done the same. It's done in the Skype Hybrid Center where we do it.
This is not just that.
Correct. Yeah. It's you have to once you pull the license, it'll unassign it, or you can unassign it here first. It'll keep it in your tenant. You can reassign it to someone else, and you can reassign it if they come back. But it's not. We don't give them back. I don't know if there's a cap on how many unassigned numbers you can have. I'm sure there is. I just don't know what it is. You could find out. Has anybody used the tools for Skype for Business Online? So the call quality dashboard, huge, big deal, and then the call analytics. So Skype actually tracks everything that happens at the client, and at the end of a call, it reports that back up to the server. Yeah, that's a great tool. Coaches. So, kind of, but not really. So, we send every time you're off, finish a call, whether it's audio, video, screen sharing, or all of the things, whether you're in a meeting or it's a peer-to-peer, we send up to the server a voice quality report. And in that voice quality report is everything about that call. The endpoints, down to the CPU, RAM, version of Windows, everything. Everything to do about packet loss, jitter, delay, of the media stack. Everything is in there. Was that?
The audio?
Not the actual audio. No, we don't do that, right? So when you collect this data, you need a way to surface it. So we have the call quality dashboard actually has the metrics built into it about what Microsoft says is a good call and what's a bad call based on the media stack. And you can go report by subnet, right, the quality over time of your calls, or your screen shares, or your video conferences. It's a very robust. My tenant, if you guys are really interested in it, you want to hang out, I can show you some real data. I just have to turn the screen sharing off for a minute. And I can show you some real customer data. But it gives you the ability to go and pinpoint where do I need to troubleshoot Skype audio problems or Skype video problems on my network. And honestly, most of the problems I see today are network related. And most of the problems I see with Skype are network related on Wi-Fi. Because it's so accessible, people just take their PC or their computer into the conference room and they start using it. And they have 10 people in this room, all in a Skype meeting, like looking at content stuff in 180p, right? That causes a problem. So you need a tool to be able to track that. That's the call quality dashboard. If you have a specific user that you need to look at their sessions because they're streaming, my sessions stink, and you need to understand why, that's the call analytics dashboard. That'll allow you to go in and look at each user and look at their streams, look at their calls, and understand what was the problem. Were they on wire? Were they on Wi-Fi? That stuff is all sent in Dave's lab. We actually use this a lot in their PhD. And all that data is independent too, so you can use PowerShell to pull it out. So assigning a user a number is pretty straightforward. You just go to voice users here. It's coming. Gavin, see, it hasn't flown through yet. Sometimes when I make changes in the admin center on licenses, has anybody else noticed it?
It usually takes a few cycles.
Yeah, it can take a little bit to flow through. Sure. So he'll be here, and I'll just click on him and assign him. It's that simple. I mean, I can change this one, right? Since he's already there. I can change the number. You have to put in your emergency location. You know, Mark?
Do that location.
Yeah. Me too. So, anyways, I hope you got some value out of it tonight. Stop sharing. Like I was saying earlier, Skype for Business does have a lot of calling capabilities. They don't fit every scenario at your site. If you're a heavy-duty telecom person, sometimes, and I struggle with this myself, you have to let the complexity that we all know exists in the PBX system, you have to let it go. Because the whole premise behind this has been to make it less complex. But there are some things, like exceptionality that are important. So take some time, try to figure out where that is not my car. I just happen to like. Actually, that's my kid's college fund. Everybody that's But so take some time, kick the tires. You've got a great community of people that are here to help you. Microsoft, our business partners, other community members can help you out with this stuff. If you need demo licenses and stuff, reach out to your Microsoft account team, and we can get demo licenses to take your tires if you need to. The users will create demo tenants, right?
Not demo tenants. They can create trial tenants.
Trial tenants. So you can create a trial tenant.
Trial tenants are empty, demo tenants are populated.
Yeah. So you can create a trial tenant, and that's what you want to do. Fine.
Your local Microsoft partner can get all kinds of
Absolutely.
trials for you.
Yeah, I would tell you not
Just say it.
if you don't have the
They're two in a
experience,
row.
if you don't have the experience, you should not venture into this on your own.
Yes.
It can be painful, and it can get to a tipping point where everything's so good, and all of a sudden, boom, it goes bad. It's real-time communication. This is not, email.
I was talking about QoS.
Maybe that's a different workshop, right?
Oh yeah.
Come learn about the things that get Doug kicked in the head every day. We can do that session. I would actually like to come back if it was okay with you guys. Do a session on TPD, on the call analytics dashboard, probably not as long, and then talk about tips and tricks that I see that would be helpful to the community too. I spend a lot of time working on Skype stuff with customers. It's easy to deploy, kind of.
Comparatively.
And check out Teams. Please check out Teams.
Oh yeah.
Please check out Teams.
Dude,
It is not a bad
statement, and you'll understand.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys, let's go for Doug. It was very helpful.
Great, I'm glad.
All right, guys. So just to wrap it up, we do want to give a shout out to other local communities that are in the area, whether it's SharePoint, whether it's Azure, PowerShell, Link, or Skype for Business, but the URL still says Link. Definitely check them out if you're interested in more details. For upcoming events, SharePoint Saturday in New York City is coming up next weekend. I believe there's still room to register if you have not registered yet and you're interested. It's in the Microsoft building right in Times Square. Great event if you're around. And then Ignite's coming up about a month and a half from now down in Orlando. Tickets are still available, as are hotel reservations. I just bought my ticket about a week ago, so I know it's still there. Definitely check that out. So we are looking for both speakers as well as sponsors. If you are interested in presenting, let us know. It doesn't have to be about the product. It could be a case study. It could be lessons learned. You can tell us about a project that you did, what kind of challenges you faced, how you overcame it. It could be something that says, hey, here's the best practice to do something, whether it's how to hack Planner without a license or something different. Come let us know. Additionally, we do rely on sponsors. Microsoft's been very generous to give us the venue space. But when it comes to food, running things like the meetup and the Eventbrite, some other low overhead operational costs, we rely on sponsors to keep this group going. Otherwise, the three of us would be multiple thousands in debt. So if you know any sponsors or if you're interested in sponsoring, come give us a shout. We definitely appreciate that. So community announcements. Is everyone 100% happy and satisfied and no problems with their Office 365 tenants?
I know I am.
If anyone's had any questions or things that you want to talk about, feel free to raise it now. Otherwise, we could do it over a beer, which I'll announce in a minute. Is anybody hiring or looking for work?
Microsoft hiring big time. Massive hiring going on in the next 2 weeks.
It's freed up some employee space, yeah.
Actually, we don't have enough people for the new positions that we figured
created in our restructuring decisions. Yes, we did free up some employee space, but we're gonna hire twice as many people that have laid off, mostly. We're really focused on the US, and so careers.microsoft.com.
Telecommute from the Dover area?
I
Are you driving down here every day?
No, I don't. I work three stories down from my bedroom. I'm not gonna have it any other way either. But yeah, take a look at that. Take a look at Microsoft Career.
Besides, he's a Skype guy. Don't you think they make him telecommute?
I just refused to come down here when I was at
Proven work.
the other location.
Does anyone know of any other boot camps or any other events that are happening in the area that might be applicable?
I know that there is going to be a New England SharePoint Saturday that is in the planning stages. There's no date yet, but they've started to do a call for organizers.
Who's behind that?
Call for speakers, yeah.
Was that? Yeah, there's no call for speakers.
So it's like Jared manifests, so the Connecticut's kind of like tying in with, what's it, Fixin', well, yeah, you too.
Eugene.
What's his face up in,
Jim.
Yeah, Jim.
Wilcox.
And then I'm guessing that will also, Boston SharePoint user group as well.
Yeah, there were some conversations about opening it up a little bit broader to make it like an Office 365 themed because,
That would be a bad idea.
but yeah, keep an eye out for that. It probably won't be until spring. Yeah, last discussions were to do it after Ignite, and then apparently there's also going to be some kind of SharePoint Fest in Europe that is not Microsoft sponsored, so they wanted to do it after that. But keep an eye out for that. I think we're a ways away. So we have 4 great raffle gifts today. We have 3 $25 gift cards to Amazon, as well as 1 month of training. And per tradition, we're going to be asking raffle questions. So Doug's been kind enough to provide 3 of these raffle questions to us ahead of time. So raise your hand once you know the answer. Okay, Arthur, go ahead. B, correct. You get to pick a gift card or the plural site training.
A gift card.
Perfect. Come talk to me after. We'll get you in the system. Question 2.
For those of you that win, please come talk to us afterwards. Otherwise, we can't get you.
Yeah, we've had some challenges the last few sessions where people won, but they didn't come talk to us or give us contact info, so we had no way of emailing them.
We don't know who you are. We can't give you the prize.
These are all virtual. They're not physical prizes. We'll email it to you. Okay, question 2. So there's 3 deployment models. You have to get all 3 correct in order to get the gifts. Go ahead.
That would be A, C, and D.
All right. We got winner number 2. Raffle number 3. What is Skype for Business meeting broadcast? You're not eligible. All right, we got the right answer. C is correct. And now, the last question, which some of you missed if you weren't here in the very beginning. What bundles are offered by Microsoft 365? There's 1 correct answer out of the 4, or out of the 5 rather. You can't win twice, so if you already won, you can't go again.
I'm embarrassed, I don't even know.
We got a winner. The answer is C. Yeah, there's no E1 options, and mobile cyber protection is not a real thing.
Never call it enhanced.
Enhanced threat protection, right? Or is that advanced? Anyways, so huge thanks to all of our past sponsors. Without them, this would not be possible. Per tradition, we do like to get a drink afterwards and talk about things that we don't want recorded or on record. Our bar of choice is Firebrand Saints. It's across the street that way, right next to Dunkin' Donuts. I'll be heading there for at least 1 drink. If anyone wants to join, more than welcome to. Just pay your own way. Sponsors typically don't cover drinks. Not that we have one for this session, but it's all good. So thanks again for coming out. I know the weather's getting nice, so we definitely appreciate you joining us on a Thursday night.
Presentation.
Oh, guys, one more thing. As we're trying to get people to come in and present following sessions, if anyone has any topics they're really interested in hearing more about, please come talk to Mike or myself. We try to get speakers aligned with topics that we have interest in. So do let us know if you have anything at the top of your mind. Thank you.